Catherine Adams arrived in Houston expecting a peaceful birthday celebration, but instead she stood frozen as cold orange juice slid down her white blouse. Her younger sister, Lily, slammed the jug on the table and stared at her like an unwanted guest. Gasps filled the room as the sticky liquid dripped from Catherine's hair and onto the dress she had bought that afternoon in New York. Lily lifted her chin and said loudly, "You have 5 minutes to get out. This house is mine now." Catherine looked at her parents, hoping for support, but they simply watched in silence. Catherine wiped a line of juice from her cheek and forced a calm smile. Inside, something deep and tired finally broke. "I don't need 5 minutes," she said softly, shocking the guests around her. When she turned toward the stairs, she wasn't just leaving the party. She was walking away from years of being treated like the extra child. She climbed to the guest room, her clothes sticking to her skin, her thoughts racing through decades of memories. This house in Houston had always looked perfect from the outside, but she knew pictures could lie better than people ever could. Growing up, Lily was treated like the sun that the entire family revolved around, while Catherine worked quietly in the background. Their younger brother, Jason, played the role of the peacemaker, smiling through every storm. Catherine remembered bringing home straight A's only to receive a nod while Lily's smallest achievements earned applause. When Catherine entered a statewide design contest in high school, Lily broke her delicate model and cried until their parents blamed Catherine for overreacting. Moments like that stacked up for years. They molded Catherine into someone who learned to work alone, succeed alone, and hurt alone. At 22, Catherine left for New York with a scholarship and a suitcase, praying distance would soften their bias. But when her father's architecture firm struggled and the bank threatened to take the house, the family called Catherine for help. Not Lily the influencer, not Jason drifting between jobs. Catherine co-signed the mortgage and wired money from her tiny New York apartment. She told herself she did it out of love. But standing now in a guest room with drying juice on her shirt, she finally saw the truth. She had saved a house she was never truly allowed to claim. When she returned downstairs, the party had resumed awkwardly, music suddenly louder as if everyone hoped noise could erase humiliation. Lily laughed in the center of the room, retelling stories as if nothing had happened. Catherine slipped her phone into her pocket and tapped the voice recorder. She stepped forward and asked clearly, "Did you mean it? What you said earlier?" Lily tossed her hair and smirked. "Of course. Dad already put the title in my name. I'm the one who stayed. You barely come home." Catherine looked at her father, waiting for denial, but he said nothing at all. Catherine stepped closer, her voice steady even as her heart pounded. "Is that true?" she asked Lily again. "You're saying the house is yours?" Lily folded her arms proudly. "Yes. Dad trusts me more. I handled everything with the bank. You weren't here." Catherine tilted her head. "Interesting. Because the last time I checked, my signature was still on the old mortgage." A flicker of panic slipped across Lily's face before she masked it with a shrug. "Details," she muttered. "The lawyer handled all that. You were too busy with your New York life to answer your phone." Her father shifted uncomfortably, his jaw tightening as though he wished he were anywhere else. Catherine studied him carefully and asked, "Did you really remove my name without telling me?" He didn't speak, but his silence gave the answer she already knew. Lily leaned forward, lowering her voice while still making sure the nearby guests heard. "Stop pretending you care about this family. You left. I stayed. That makes this house mine." Catherine clicked off her recorder in her pocket. Her face softened into a small, controlled smile. "Thank you for being honest," she said calmly. "I needed that." As she walked toward the hallway, her mother whispered sharply, "Catherine, stop being dramatic. We'll discuss this after everyone leaves." Catherine paused long enough to look her mother in the eye. "You had a chance to discuss it when Lily poured juice on me and you said nothing." Her mother flinched but said nothing more. Catherine continued walking, each step feeling lighter than the last. This wasn't weakness anymore. It was clarity. She headed toward the one room in the house that had never treated her like an outsider, her grandmother's small bedroom at the end of the hall. Grandma Ruth opened the door before Catherine even knocked. "I heard shouting," she said, scanning Catherine's damp hair and clean shirt. "And I heard that foolish 5-minute eviction." Catherine stepped inside, feeling the tension leave her shoulders for the first time that night. "She dumped juice on me and told me the house is hers," she explained. Grandma Ruth's expression tightened, not shocked but disappointed. "Close the door," she said. Her room looked nothing like the staged perfection in the rest of the house. Books, old photographs and wooden furniture gave the space the warmth Catherine remembered. "Sit down," Grandma Ruth instructed, pointing to the edge of the bed. Catherine obeyed while her grandmother settled into her rocking chair. "Do you know who paid the original down payment on this house?" she asked. Catherine frowned. "Dad always said he and Mom saved for it after he made partner." Grandma shook her head. "They saved some, yes. But your grandfather and I paid the rest. We put the house into a family trust. And your father cannot change everything without the trustee." Catherine's heart paused. "Who's the trustee?" she whispered. Grandma Ruth's eyes softened. "You are." Catherine blinked, stunned. "Me? Why would I be the trustee?" Grandma Ruth rested both hands on her cane. "Because you were the only one who understood what you were signing at 25. Your father wanted to keep control, but your grandfather and I wanted someone responsible to protect the property if things ever went wrong. And they have gone wrong." Catherine stared at the stack of folders on the dresser. "So while they've been acting like this house belongs to Lily, I'm actually the one legally responsible for it?" Grandma nodded slowly. "Yes. And it's time you knew the truth." Catherine felt anger and confusion twist together. Why didn't anyone tell me? Why let me be treated like the outsider when I was the one carrying the responsibility? Grandma sighed. "Because your parents believed you didn't need the burden. They liked pretending they were in charge. And I hoped they'd treat you fairly without needing legal pressure." She leaned forward. "But tonight proved me wrong." She handed Catherine the top folder. "I plan to give you this later. But after hearing Lily claim, 'This house is mine,' I realized the timing needed to change. You deserve the truth now." Inside the folder were trust papers, legal descriptions, and a letter in Grandma's careful handwriting. Catherine held them like fragile glass. "What happens if I enforce this?" she asked quietly. "If I stop pretending I'm just a guest here?" Grandma Ruth met her eyes. "Then Lily will learn that claiming a house is not the same as owning it. And your parents will learn what happens when they let one child be sacrificed for another." Catherine felt something settle inside her. No longer rage but purpose. For years she had swallowed silence. Now she finally had a blueprint for action. Catherine stepped outside into the cool night air, folder pressed against her chest like a shield. From the driveway, the glowing house looked peaceful, almost innocent. She opened the documents again, seeing her name repeated. Catherine Adams, trustee. Not the forgotten daughter. Not the backup plan. She took pictures of the papers and scrolled to Maya Parker, her old college roommate and now a real estate attorney in Houston. When Maya picked up, Catherine said, "I think I need your help." Maya exhaled sharply as she heard the story. "Send everything," she said. "Because Kat, this is huge." Catherine sent the photos and the recording. Maya replied almost instantly, "Please tell me you didn't sign anything recently." Catherine shook her head. "No. Not a thing." Maya hummed thoughtfully. "Then Lily's claims are either exaggerated or illegal. If you're still a co-signer on the mortgage and the land is in a trust you control, anything they changed without your signature is a mess waiting to explode." Catherine stared at the house through her windshield. "So if she says the house is hers," Maya finished softly, "you can make sure it isn't anyone's unless the trust allows it." Maya continued, "I'll pull the recent title records tomorrow. But you need to prepare yourself. Your parents might see you as the villain for simply protecting what you're responsible for." Catherine leaned back in the car seat, letting the words sink in. She had spent 30 years trying to be the good daughter, the patient daughter, the quiet daughter. What had that earned her? A soaked blouse and a 5-minute eviction. "Then let them see me however they want," she said firmly. "I won't keep letting them use me." She booked a hotel room and drove away from the house. When Catherine checked into her hotel, an email from Maya waited for her. The subject line read, "You're not going to like this." Catherine opened it and froze. According to the preliminary records, a new refinance had occurred 6 months earlier, one she had never signed. Even worse, a home equity line of credit had been opened using the property as collateral. The bank's authorized contact? Lily Adams. Catherine whispered into the empty room. "You wanted this house so badly you risked everything built on top of it." Her anger didn't explode. It crystallized into icy determination. The next morning her phone buzzed non-stop. Her mother called twice. Her father called once. Even Lily sent a short, cold message. "We need to talk." But Catherine instructed them all to meet her at Maya's downtown office instead of returning home. In the glass conference room, the air felt heavy with silence. Her parents looked confused. Lily walked in wearing sunglasses, acting annoyed. Jason lingered quietly near the door. Maya laid the trust documents on the table. "We need to discuss the legal reality of your home," she said politely. Catherine watched their faces shift from confusion to fear. Her father paled as he recognized his old signatures. Her mother covered her mouth as she realized this wasn't a misunderstanding, it was law. Maya then slid forward the documents from the refinance 6 months earlier. "This filing is invalid," Maya said calmly, "because Catherine's signature should have been required." Lily bristled. "The banker said one person was enough. Dad told him Catherine wasn't involved." Catherine leaned forward, voice calm but sharp. "Didn't you tell everyone last night that the house was yours and you handled everything?" Lily's cheeks flushed. "You're twisting my words." "I have a recording," Catherine replied. Catherine spread the documents across the table like evidence in a trial. "Here's the truth," she said. "The land is in a trust. I'm the trustee. I can freeze transactions. I can force an audit. I can even force a sale if the property is misused." Her father swallowed hard. What do you want?" Catherine looked at him steadily. "I want full access to every financial document tied to the house. No more secret refinancing. No more side deals. And no more treating me like the invisible daughter you can lean on whenever life gets inconvenient." Jason stepped forward for the first time, rubbing the back of his neck. "Catherine's right," he said quietly. "Last night was messed up. And we've been leaning on her for years while pretending we weren't." Lily whipped around to him. "You're taking her side?" He shrugged sadly. "I'm taking the side of reality." Catherine looked at him, surprised but grateful. Her father sighed deeply, shoulders sinking. "We never meant for things to get this far," he said. "We thought we could handle everything." Catherine replied softly, "You handled it by hiding it. And pretending I didn't matter." The next several days were long and exhausting. Catherine sat with Maya's team in the conference room reviewing stacks of bank statements, loan documents and financial records spread across the table like pieces of a broken machine. Each page revealed something worse. A new late fee, another line of credit, a costly renovation or a vacation Lily had posted online. Catherine listened in silence, jaw tightening each time she recognized her own financial responsibility buried in the debt. Maya looked up from the numbers. "They're not malicious," she said gently. "Just irresponsible. All of them. And the house is sinking under the weight." Lily came to the first 2 meetings, slamming chairs, rolling her eyes and insisting the bank trusted her more. But when the team began asking for documentation she couldn't provide, she stopped showing up altogether. Instead, she posted cryptic messages online about toxic siblings and jealous energy. Catherine didn't respond. She was past wanting an apology. She wanted stability. One evening, Maya placed 3 projections side by side. "Here's the truth," she said. "If the interest rate increases even a little, your parents will default. The house is no longer an asset. It has become a liability." Catherine stared at the glowing charts. She remembered childhood birthdays in the backyard, late nights studying at the kitchen table, and the quiet moments only she seemed to notice. "What are my options?" she asked. Maya leaned forward. "As trustee, you can force a sale. It will hurt their feelings, but it may be the only way to stop the financial bleeding. You can pay off the debts, close the accounts, and give your parents a chance to start over in a smaller, manageable home." Catherine swallowed slowly. She had dreamed of saving the house, never of ending it. But then she imagined more secret loans, more forged signatures, more late-night calls begging for money. She imagined Lily claiming ownership again while Catherine paid the consequences. She imagined spending the next decade cleaning up the same mess. "If I force a sale," she said carefully, "I want conditions." Maya nodded. "Let's build them." Together they drafted a plan. Her parents would move into a townhouse they could afford outright, no mortgages, no refinancing, no leverage games. The remaining money would be split 3 ways exactly as the trust intended. Equal. Fair. No more chosen favorites. The hardest part wasn't writing the plan. It was delivering it. They gathered one last time in the living room, the same place where orange juice had once dripped from Catherine's lashes. Her parents sat close together, faces anxious. Lily sat stiffly with crossed arms, eyes puffy from crying. Grandma Ruth sat tall in her chair, cane by her side, insisting she would be present. Catherine stood in front of them and said plainly, "The house will be sold." No theatrics. No shouting. Just the weight of truth finally spoken aloud. Her mother covered her mouth, tears spilling instantly. "We've lived here 30 years, her mother whispered. "I know," Catherine said gently. "But this house has stopped being a home. Right now it owns you. It owns your fear, your debt, your sleep, your choices. That's not living. It's drowning." Her father closed his eyes. "We failed you," he said hoarsely. "We failed all of you." Before Catherine could respond, Grandma Ruth spoke sharply. "You failed yourselves first. And you failed her by letting her become the quiet backbone while you pretended she wasn't holding everything together." Silence settled over the room like dust. Lily suddenly exploded. "So that's it? This is happening because I made one mistake at a party?" Catherine turned to her calmly. "This isn't about the juice. That just revealed the truth you've been speaking quietly for years. You believe the house belongs only to you. You've acted like everyone else is disposable." Lily's voice trembled. "You're ruining everything." Catherine shook her head. "No. I'm stopping the damage. The sale is about signatures, documents, debt, and choices. You didn't create the whole mess. But you benefited from it. And last night you weaponized it." Lily turned desperately to their parents. "And you're letting her do this?" she demanded. Her father looked older than Catherine had ever seen him. "We let you have too much power without responsibility," he admitted. "And we let Catherine bear too much responsibility without recognition." Lily stared at him as though the floor had dropped beneath her feet. "I could press charges," Catherine said softly, turning back to her. "Any forged signatures on refinancing documents, any misrepresentation to the bank. I could take this further. But I'm choosing not to. I'm choosing a clean slate instead." Lily blinked, tears gathering. "If you hate me so much, why not destroy me?" Catherine inhaled slowly. "Because I don't hate you. I hate what we were all taught. That love is a competition. That one child must shine while another disappears. I'm not interested in taking your spot on the pedestal. I'm interested in tearing the pedestal down." Grandma Ruth nodded proudly. Catherine continued, "Real revenge isn't you crying when the house sells. Real revenge is me living a life where your approval doesn't define me. Where I'm not the daughter you use and forget." Weeks later, a bright for sale sign appeared in the front yard, and the neighborhood buzzed with whispered theories. Some believed the family was downsizing. Others assumed money trouble. A few blamed kids these days, shaking their heads at what they didn't understand. Only the people inside that living room knew the truth. The sale wasn't chaos, it was correction. Catherine watched from her car as potential buyers walked through the house she once tiptoed in. It didn't feel like loss. It felt like release. She whispered quietly, "Goodbye," not to the house but to the version of herself who once begged to belong. Lily moved into a small apartment across town with plain walls and cheap blinds. Catherine saw it only through Lily's online videos. Her sister's content had changed. The bragging was gone. The polished filters were softer. Her tone carried something new, humility, maybe even honesty. Sometimes Catherine watched her late at night and felt a strange pull in her chest. Not pity. Not satisfaction. Something in between. A quiet understanding that starting over hurts in ways pride can't hide. But Catherine didn't reach out. Healing wasn't something she could force on Lily. It had to grow from the cracks. Her parents moved into a modest townhouse, smaller but warmer, free from the weight of looming debt. At first they missed the space and the reputation the old house gave them. But slowly the tension in their shoulders loosened. They began cooking simple meals. They spoke openly without whispering about overdue payments. They stopped pretending life was perfect and instead tried living it honestly. One afternoon, Catherine visited and saw her parents sitting together on the couch, laughing about a broken lamp they were trying to fix. She realized then that losing the house had given them back their peace. Jason visited Catherine in New York a few months later. They walked along the High Line, the wind tugging at their jackets. He sipped his coffee and said, Lily still tells people you ruined her life. Catherine nodded. I know. He continued, and Mom still cries sometimes about the house. Catherine shrugged gently. I expected that. Jason glanced at her. Do you regret it? She looked out at the city skyline, remembering the orange juice dripping down her face while her parents stood silent. She thought about trust documents, forged signatures, and Grandma's steady voice. No, she said. I regret waiting 30 years. Jason kicked at a loose pebble. I'm angry at you and grateful at the same time, he admitted. Catherine smiled. Welcome to adulthood. They walked in silence for a while until Jason whispered, You saved us, you know. Maybe not the way anyone expected, but you stopped things before they collapsed. Catherine inhaled deeply, letting the cold air fill her lungs. She wasn't used to hearing words like that from her family. But coming from Jason, who always saw more than he said they mattered. For the first time in her life she felt something unfamiliar. Validated. Later that night, Catherine lay in her small but fully hers New York apartment, staring at the ceiling. A question drifted through her mind. Could forgiveness have happened without forcing the sale? Maybe. Maybe not. But forgiveness without consequence often becomes permission for history to repeat itself. And consequence without compassion becomes cruelty. She had tried to land somewhere in between, a place where everyone could start again without pretending nothing happened. She didn't know if her family would ever fully understand. But she did know she no longer lived in the shadows of their expectations. The following week she received a quiet call from Grandma Ruth. How are you holding up, dear? The older woman asked. Catherine smiled softly. Better than I expected. Her grandmother chuckled. I knew you'd handle it with strength. That's why your grandfather trusted you. Catherine swallowed, emotion rising. I didn't want to hurt anyone. Grandma replied, sometimes protecting people hurts them first. But that doesn't make protection wrong. You didn't burn the house down, child. You rebuilt the foundation. Catherine closed her eyes, grateful for the only person who had always seen her clearly. As months passed, Catherine settled deeper into her life in New York. She designed buildings, drank her morning coffee on her balcony, and met new clients who valued her for her skill, not her role in someone else's story. Sometimes she passed by families walking together in the city and wondered about her own. She didn't miss the old dynamics. She missed the idea of what they could have been. But she reminded herself that healing was not a race. Boundaries were not walls. And love was not meant to be earned by suffering. She was learning each day to breathe again. One evening, as she watched the sun drop behind the skyline, a final thought settled in her heart like truth finding its home. Revenge had never been the goal. She hadn't destroyed her sister. She hadn't humiliated her parents. She had simply refused to keep carrying a burden that was never meant to be hers. She chose honesty over silence, structure over chaos, and peace over performance. She learned that walking away from a place that hurt you is not abandonment. It is survival. It is growth. And sometimes, it is the only kind of love that makes sense. Catherine closed her balcony door and whispered to herself, I didn't need their house to win. Because the real victory wasn't taking anything back. It was finally choosing herself. She had walked out of a home that treated her like an extra, carrying nothing but a folder of truth. And with that truth she rebuilt her life. Her family might never fully understand. Lily might never forgive. Her parents might always mourn the old house. But Catherine had learned the most important lesson of all. Loving your family doesn't mean letting them set you on fire to keep themselves warm. It means standing tall even when they ask you to shrink. And for the first time she stood tall without permission from anyone.